it was before the strike hits. The strike didn't occur till the following spring,
Yeah.
but I had been shopping myself around to different agents and managers, and I started to get some feedback that, hey, buddy, there's real storm clouds on the horizon, and if this happens, we're not going to have time for you.
Wow.
And it was a deciphering of that, but it was very clear in speaking to other people.
Yeah, it was coming.
It was coming, and
everybody knew it was coming.
Everybody knew it was coming, and because it had been a very, very not a good negotiation last round, so everybody expected it. Actually, I think everybody was wanting it, which is be careful what you wish for. But it happened, and my thinking leading up to that was, you know what? Even if I land a manager, I'm just going to be parked on the side,
Yeah.
maybe throwing some seeds here and there, but it's not really going to be beneficial to me or the manager. I was very respectful of their issues, the things that they had to do, because now they have a flock of people that aren't getting income, have no place to go, and they have to tend. So who needs a new writer? So I said, I have to look at this in different ways. I started networking, and before the end of the year, I would say it was about 3 months after Script Summit, and I think it was on the Power of Script Summit, me posting that on Twitter, or as it's called now. I got a call from a producer.
It got a lot of exposure after you did that, didn't it? You
Yes.
won Script Summit. You posted it
on
Twitter, and it kind of blew up.
I posted on Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter really, I have a great following on Twitter. They're still
That's
there.
awesome.
But, I had about 3,000 or 4,000 people, and all my screenwriting buddies that I know of from past experiences, they're all jumped on it, and they're all high-fiving me. But
I want to bring the audience up to speed here, because we are already into the show. This is Frank Monteleone. He won Best TV Pilot for Script Summit 2022, which is the contest that I run. It's been listed as a top 20 screenwriting contest in the world. Frank and I have been chatting for a while here, and let's continue with what you were saying. So you won. You posted it on Twitter, and what happened?
On Twitter, and it exploded. And I get a lot of really good. I have quite a few good screenwriting buddies that are followers of mine, and a good network of people. I had attracted a couple of producers, and
Nice.
they were following me as well. And it was all high fives, glories, and a lot of people were saying, everybody comes in second and third and fourth. You hear a lot of that, but you don't hear a lot of first place stories. So good congratulations, plus from a top contest, because I was keenly familiar with Script Summit in the bailiwick of the top contest to enter and participate in. And it was one of the main reasons I traveled out to Michigan for the contest itself, because I said, this is probably going to be a good event, and there'll be other seminars, other things you could attend. And what the hell else am I going to do on my 42nd birthday? My 62nd birthday. Oh my goodness. I just took 20 years off of my life, which was good.
I can't blame you. I mean, I still run around feeling like I'm in my 20s, and then I look in the mirror.
I feel like I'm in my teens all the time.
Yeah, I hear it. So the script was Candlestick Men. So you posted it. You got some heat off of it. I'm sure it did well on Coverfly. So
yeah,
did anything?
It's actually top 1% on Coverfly. But
wow.
prior to, I had already entered into Script Summit, and then shortly thereafter, I posted it. I'll tell you the Blacklist story. It's a short one, but
sure.
As a dummy, I was running around saying, here I am in television world writing TV scripts. I wish they had a blacklist for TV. So the screenwriter says, a friend of mine says, knucklehead, there is one. It's a website. You just post it to the website. You just say, oh, really? Okay. So that summer, I was going away to Europe, and I posted Candlestick Men. And I have to tell you, it's an earlier version that wasn't polished. I had not put it through the process. And I posted it on the Blacklist, and you get your proverbial, everybody hunts for that proverbial 8 score. Out of the gate, I got 2 7s and a 6.
Okay.
And I was
not bad.
Those are pretty good, but I feel there's an 8 out there somewhere for me. So I bought another 3 evaluations, and sure enough, it was like a kid in the casino with the
Jeez. They can get you like that, though.
Yeah, well, no, it worked out great. So I got a 8, a 7, and an 8 with those 3 evaluations.
That's beautiful.
And what I did not know was when you receive an 8 score, they give you 2 free evaluations. So I was like, okay, great, I'm done. Six is what I paid for. I've got 4 pending. Out of the other 4 that were pending, I garnered 2 more 8s. And out of the freebies from that, eventually I got 4 8s and a 9 out of this
Wow.
roll of free
That's beautiful.
evaluations. And then I hit tilt with them. They sent me a notice that said, in a word, listen, buddy, this is a great script, but we can't give you any more freebies, but we'll host you.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's tilt. It's called tilt. It's called the you won on the. That's my friend Tom
You
Schreck.
beat the blacklist.
He says you broke the blacklist. So he was going to make a T-shirt up of that for me. And
That's
this is all
awesome.
happening all before I get out to Michigan. So, this is ongoing because I'd already submitted to Script Summit, and this was happening in between.
That's so
So
cool.
when I got out there, they they say, if you want to pay for more, that's great. But if you score well, we're not giving you anything for free.
Yeah.
But we will host your script for free in perpetuity.
Okay.
So it's still there, hosted for free. And it gets a lot of heat and attention from that.
Good.
And when I came out there, I was sharing that story with a few people. I remember Joanne saying, did you get the unicorn? What's the unicorn? So I said, she says it's a 10. I says, I don't even know what that would look like, but no. But I'm good with what I've got.
I'm yet to meet anybody that's landed at 10. I've been doing this a long time. I've interviewed a lot of people. I've yet to see anybody who's gotten a 10. 8s and 9s, I've seen a few of them, and they can help move the needle, but not necessarily guarantee an option or anything
Yeah.
like that.
I'm a
Yeah.
2.9 guy, so I got a 9
It's
on
amazing.
the second pilot I wrote, so which is encouraging. So anyway, that happens. I go to Script Summit.
Yeah.
I had a good feeling. I had a good vibe about
Going in feeling good.
feeling good, and
All right.
pulled off the win. I still have my plaque.
Aw.
Actually, I think I have this right here. This is handy. Yeah, I still have this guy.
Well, that's a beautiful seal. Yeah.
So, yeah, proud owner of that. But everything went great, and I think I was introduced to a couple of managers, and the storm was coming. So, unbeknownst to me, I was followed by a couple of producers, and the one producer was really keeping tabs on me.
Cool.
But his experience was in mostly in reality TV, and he wanted to jump forward
Okay.
into fiction and scripted. So
Okay.
he reached out to me and flew out to New York. We met. We kind of bonded. He was a good guy, very ambitious. I flew to LA. He set up a couple of meetings, but one of the meetings he set up was with somebody he was very close with, who was an Emmy Award winning producer. Also, he won an Emmy Award for daytime television, but he transitioned into scripted and was
Okay.
making a headway in that realm. And he and I kind of bonded. So we formed a triumvirate of a team. And then the strike hit, and it was harder for them than it was for me. I was not making my income from this,
Right.
and this is, I kind of had to talk each of them through some tough times, and eventually the strike went away. But during the course of the strike, this one guy, when it's actually the strike ended, and just as it ended, he approached. I'll tell the name of the guy because we're not doing any work together, but it was a good meeting. A fellow named Sam Catlin from Breaking Bad. He was an executive vice president of Breaking Bad, and he spun out and started up his own production company with an overall deal with Apple.
Okay.
He took this script and my other Scoring 9 script that I developed over that period of time to Sam. And usually when you send these things out, you're familiar with this. You send it to somebody to read. Got to wait a month at least,
Oh, yeah.
maybe a month and a half.
Wonder if they forgot about you, send a couple emails here and there, just long enough so that you don't look like a stalker, but not so soon that you look desperate.
This is the difference between contacts and being on the way out in the periphery. So they read it the next week.
Wow.
Through Candlestick Men, and they read it the next week and gave a
That's
feedback assessment.
fantastic.
They loved it, but they said, we're developing a couple of crime shows, and This is in our space. They kind of knew it was crime going in, but I think they just wanted to read it. And really high marks on the writing. So they were very effusive in their praise. So it was nice. And then we sent the second one. A lot darker material, I will say that, but it's also, did score 9, has great, resonates with a certain audience. And they said, this is something we were afraid to take to Apple, but we love it. But we were be too scared to take it to Apple, and they would give us looks. So okay, great. Thank you. No harm, no foul, but validation of the writing. With that
Yeah,
enthusiasm,
absolutely.
that same producer took both those scripts to a contact he had at an unnamed cable entity, and his contact there loved both those scripts. But he's the one who gave the feedback, said, the problem that I'm going to have is that I'm a new writer. So new writers have, there's a stigma.
Yeah.
First they want to see if you're not crazy, which who gets into writing and is sane? Everybody's crazy that writes. So, it's a heroin. It's our version of crack. Can't explain it.
It's how well you can hide the crazy. How good are you at masking in meetings, really, is how it comes down to.
It's only writers know this. It's like, yeah, we're nuts. Why would we do this? It's just, what are we feeding? It's insane. But he actually liked both scripts, but he said the Candlestick Men, the crime thriller, was the one that he really liked the most. And he said, if you were to find some IP to attach it to, and he said, you don't have to really kill yourself, but just find some IP that you could marry up to, you're going to have a better shot on the development side, bringing it through development cycles. And
It'll legitimize it a little bit.
Well, he said, if I've got an unbelievably great script from a new writer, and I've got an unbelievably great script from a new writer that's attached to IP, that's where they're going. And
Cool.
it's like what you're up against. He said, even if your script is better than a professional writer that they've worked with before, they'll probably gravitate towards the person that they worked
Yeah, that's
with
true.
before, because it's, there's less risk, there's less of
Uh-huh.
one.
Yeah.
So they're managing risk. So I get it. So I started negotiating with a couple of different books, about 3 different books that I knew of that were related to the subject matter. And I researched the process first. What type of agreements could there be? And you have a shopping agreement and an option agreement. Now, everybody and their brother-in-law can get a shopping agreement. They're called zero cost shopping agreements. You don't extend anything, and basically what you become is the agent for that book. Because at the end of the day, whoever you're going to is going to say, "Great, we like this book. Where do you fit in on all this?" They'll brush you aside. So I said, I probably have to go with an option agreement, pay some
Yep.
consideration.
Yeah.
And I started negotiating with Yale over one of their titles, and very interesting negotiations. They're very smart. I had a template. I'll share this. One of my producers pulled a template of an option agreement from the PGA website, and they have them available to PGA members,
Nice.
Producers Guild members. So we took that
Producers Guild, yeah.
and we massaged it a little bit, and then I took it to my attorney, and she made changes appropriate to that. And then we took that to TL and went back and forth a few times with them and signed an agreement. Now, a couple of other places or books that I spoke with, some of them said, no, we want to go strictly with the shopping agreement. And I'm like, well, good luck. If you want somebody to sell your book, you haven't been selling it since, so I'm not the
Yeah.
guy.
Right.
I have a stake in this. And I had a funny moment with Yale. This is a teaching discussion. And I was fully aware of this because when you write an option agreement and you bring it to a studio, more than likely they're going to tear it up. They're not going to go with your legal document for your IP. They have their own structure and all this. So the only thing you're trying to accomplish is get your ownership of that title and your valuation of the considerations for that author and for yourself in front of that studio. They could translate that into their document when they tear it up. If everybody's in agreement, it'll all work out. But Yale, I kind of knew this. And as I'm negotiating with Yale, they come back to me and say, you do know the studio is going to tear this up, right? And I says, yeah, I know it. Yeah. Okay. All right. You're not a neophyte. Great. Let's go. And we just signed that, I would say, right before New Year's. I got the signature on it just at the close of the year.
With Yale or with
with
the
Yale University Press. And the title of the book is Mark Galeotti's publication called The Vori, Russia's Super Mafia. So my pilot is a Russian crime drama set in Brighton Beach about the Vori, the Vor, Zakon mafia chieftains, mafia lords. So now I am kind of revising my pilot to accommodate some of the real character.
IP? Yeah,
Yeah, the IP,
that's
and
awesome.
knitting
That's
the IP
smart.
into the script, changing a couple of scenes, and we'll have an award-winning script that's based upon and influenced by this particular book, which is very saleable. So we're at that stage of getting all that done. And as a matter of fact, I owe the producers pages this week, so you know how that goes.
This is so exciting. I love where this is going. I feel like you're right on the brink. You've done everything so smartly, like planning it all out, strategizing. This is stuff that I tell younger writers that they need to do. They don't need to sit around and hope or just do the shotgun approach of querying. Like you are making your success happen. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
I did the querying, and I'll come back to that. But there's something I do want to share. This is for all the young writers. So when somebody reads your work, it's not it's a static snapshot of the latest version of what you've polished to that date.
Mhm.
So until they see that, you have countless amounts of opportunity to make it better. So what I learned, my process now is every time I write something, if I think it's pretty good, I'll have somebody that looks at it just on the concept of what's written and the scene structure and things like that, and the tone. And then after I get that back and take those notes into consideration, I'll revise it. Then I'll take it out to a proofreader and they'll proof it. And from there, I'll go to another level where they'll look at it's almost like a human thesaurus. They'll go in and give me options on action verbs that might be better than the ones I've chosen.
Yeah.
And I'll take that into consideration.
Like an
So
editor, essentially.
there's a lot of contributors to this. And then you take that version and you take that out to the world and see what the world thinks of it. So, the last version of what you wrote, the last version of what David Mamet wrote is not what he wrote yesterday. It's the version that he wrote maybe 2 weeks ago, and totally different from what he wrote when he started writing it. So you have to really recognize that everybody starts with crap and keeps on polishing it until it becomes gold.
The art is in the rewrite,
Absolutely.
you know? Absolutely. I mean, that first draft, they call it a vomit draft for a reason. You're just throwing it up on the paper, and then you sit back and you go, okay, where can I actually make this thing make sense? And then, eventually you'll get to fifth or sixth draft where you start finding the actual voice of the character, whereas before everybody sounded the same. Then you start discovering your theme, and then, like you said, you could start doing some wordsmiths and really making this sound like a sophisticated, script instead of everybody just using, the 200 word grammar lexicon. So, yeah,
You,
I love it.
and you always look back. I'll give you an example related to Candlestick Men. Had all these accolades, all this juice going for it. I pulled it off the shelf to do the rewrite for the Vori. And I looked at the first scene and I saw something in the first scene. I was like, why did I do it that way?
I
Why
would
not?
have got a 10 on the blacklist had I missed this.
I didn't think of it. It's so critical. I just like, why? I'll tell you exactly what it is. I have the two kids, they're spying on a store and they're talking to each other. But I introduced them because they're speaking in Russian. I introduced them and then showed them talking. And I was like, why did I do it that way? Have them talk off screen. Listen to their voices first before I see them.
That's more
That's so much,
spy-like.
much more interesting.
Yeah, I like that approach.
That adjustment. And I was like, every day you have to be making things better, just improve it. And if you see it, act on it. If you see something that bothers you a little bit, change it.
I love it. Frank, this is awesome. I want you to come back on the show after we get even further down the road with this thing. I would love to track the progress with it once it gets optioned, once you start getting things out there and like being a showrunner. So amazing. Is there anything else I should have asked you that I didn't?
The query, that little story about the query.
Yeah.
Um, you talk about getting into this mode of querying endless people. I was in that mode for a little while before I got the producer's call. So one thing I did learn is the new code for getting to somebody is they use their name, first name dot last name assistant at whatever it is. So I learned that code. I broke a code because I went through 3 or 4 of them. I was like, oh, now they're using this code as a code breaker. And I did this with Jessica Chastain for my second pilot, The Furies. And she had just changed, the true story, she had just changed assistants and she was trying to catch up for the old assistant. So there was phone numbers. I have a directory searching, finding things, and you have to be able to find information out. So I had a phone number to call, and I called that number, and Jessica answered. So I was like, "This is Jessica." So I was like,
Oh my God.
I just said, "Well, this is what I have, and I have the script," and I was pretty calm considering. And she's, "Oh yeah, absolutely." She was such a sweetheart, such a nice person. She's, "I'm between assistants, but send it to this email address. It's for my new assistant, and I'll take a look at it." And never heard back from her. But, that was my fun query story that you can get through to real people.
You weren't trying to get her phone number, you were trying to get her
I had her
assistant's number.
assistant. Yeah, she answered.
Holy crap.
She answered, and
That's incredible,
it was
dude.
funny. But a better way to go is to have somebody that you know who knows her say, "I know a guy who wrote this great script," and give it to her. And you have a better chance of success than catching her on the phone as a stalker.
There's so many stories of people that tried to break into Hollywood that way by getting whatever weird odd job they could to brush elbows with people, and
Yeah, I don't believe it.
yeah, I'm not that guy.
I'm not in that
Uh,
camp anymore. I just, having somebody read something in 1 week, and they did that with both scripts. The guy from Breaking Bad read each script in a week's time. So to
you
get that,
start you start realizing your value. Like, I thought, "Oh, I'm a pretty decent writer." But once you start having your script, like, read by a studio or read by, like, HBO or Oprah Winfrey, once you get your scripts to that point, you start going, "Okay, I see where we are now." And when you're doing that and you hit that level and you're not in LA, it feels even better.
yeah, absolutely. But you do it in a pragmatic way, knowing that there's probably several hundred people in your category. So the work has to be outstanding, but the tone and the story, you just have to find one person that says, "Hey, I want to make this." So we think we're on to one of those, but you need somebody to be a champion for you and be able to take that up the ladder.
And every step you make is a step closer to that, and sometimes when you're in the middle of that journey, you don't realize how much further there is to go. So you're like, I've been walking this path forever and I've been taking each step, and it could be that next step where you meet that person. I mean, for me, I've had so many dark nights of the soul during this thing where I've just been walking this like endless void, and then one day I meet a producer at a mixer who says, "Do you have a thriller?" I go, "Yeah." He says, "Can you shoot it for this month?" This much. I say, "Yeah." I give him the worst, like 30-second pitch I've ever done in my life because I wasn't ready for it. Then the next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call. My assistant wants to read it. A month later, it's optioned and they're shooting it. And I mean, it's like that. And I was ready to give up on the industry, that day. But you don't know how that next step you take and persevering through this could be that moment where you finally
Exactly.
have your chance.
And I wanted to again thank Script Summit because the heat that occurred on Twitter this is exactly the feedback. So I done okay in contests. I think I can, my best up to that point was I was a top 10 in final draft, but all my script writing buddies said, "I've never won anything." They're all like, I've placed, I made the quarterfinals, but they all said, "I've never won anything." And Script Summit is a top contest. So congratulations. So I was very proud.
We're proud of our winners. I mean, we are Coverfly exclusive, right? So we only do everything through Coverfly, and our readers are professionals. We like to pride ourselves on the fact that we hold the bar high. So that way, when someone says, I have a laurel from Script Summit. It means something. It carries some kind of weight. And so people don't just think, oh, well, they give out awards to anybody. I mean, we don't do it that way.
And the last point I'll add is networking. So I met somebody at your contest, Cynthia Merston. I think she won in a particular category,
She did, yeah.
and she's doing great. But I was able to get one of her scripts into Shondaland through a contact.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
we think it was the wrong contact. The contact, I think the contact was a friend of a friend. So I don't know how strong a representation they made of her script and our script. So I have to circle back to her. But, every time I go to LA, I do catch up with her to see how she's doing.
But that's the power of networking. And you guys just met randomly at Script Summit, and here you're trying to help her with her script, which I love because it's a community, and I always preach that screenwriting is not a zero-sum game. you know, the rising tide can lift all ships.
Absolutely.
I don't have to beat you, but so many other contests and competitions make you feel that way. And I always want everybody like, hey, let's help each other. Let's all grow together. I think it's fantastic. I am looking forward to doing another in-person thing. I'm trying to figure out if it'll be like every couple of years or something like that. So it's not taking over my life.
Yeah. That was a
So
great experience for me, and I think you had some awesome people there to help in the facilitation.
yeah, absolutely.
Joanne was she's an unbelievable talent, and she had a lot, and you had a couple of other and people there that were integral in running that contest quite well. So I was very
Yeah, we had Christy doing some great stuff, and Lee was there. He's an Emmy award-winning producer and director, and he did a great fucking promo seminar, which is really cool. And so we have a great crew helping everybody out. I mean, Joanne's my bestie. I mean, she's so talented.